Today I'm going to be continuing on my journey to learn about every province in Canada, and today we're going to be looking at a province I know very little about, but that's what makes it intriguing for me. There's so much to learn for me because I know so little already, and this is going to be Newfoundland. Now we're going to be looking at the best things to do in Newfoundland because I feel these type of videos allows me to get a better understanding of what is actually in Newfoundland, what places are good to visit. In the future, with Newfoundland and every other province, I'll also be looking at the culture, the history of all the provinces. But at the moment, we're looking at the best things to do in these provinces. And one reason that I wanted to look at Newfoundland, especially this week, is because later this week I'm going to be reacting to Operation Yellow Ribbon, which I think Newfoundland has a big part to play in that operation. And also, as always, I'm really interested to know about people who live in Newfoundland. Tell me about your life there. How is the province? And for people who live outside of the province, tell me if you've ever visited there and what you think about it, what you like doing, what's good about it. But let's check this out. Excited as always to learn.
One of my passions is travel. Over the last few years, I've done a lot of world travel, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to do Canada's Road to 150. I want to experience what Canada has to offer and showcase it to the world.
What is Road to 150? Is that some sort of route that you can take across Canada or something like that? Tell me if that's an official thing that you can do.
Canada's Road to 150 is a 150-day road trip across the country. In this road trip, we want to show to all Canadians and the world the beauty of this country through its landscapes and cities, but also through its people and history, to really find out what makes Canada so special.
Tell me if you've ever did the Road to 150, have you ever heard about it? Have you ever known anybody to do it? I think that would be amazing. I wish I could have that free time to do.
My cousin Matt and myself, we're going to be traveling across the country, and we invited our friend Justin Brunel, who is an amazing filmmaker, and it's going to make possible that you enjoy the trip with us.
I think that this is a very important project to do because Canada is a massive country. It's the second largest country in the world, and it's really hard to see the entire country. And even if you live in Canada, there's chances that you have not seen all that there is to see in Canada. And even us being on the road for 150 days, we are not going to be able to see the full extent of what Canada is. But this trip will really help us see the best of the best and give us a little bit more of an insight on what Canada really is.
That's one thing that when I'm watching all these videos and learning about Canada, I have great happiness in finding out about how much of a wonderful country it is, but I also get this slight frustration that I will never have enough time to explore that. If you're saying even people in Canada, Canadians, won't even have a chance to explore that, and that being their own country, I just, when I watch these videos, it makes me want to go there right now and try and explore as much of it and really live that lifestyle in each of these different places. But like, I know that it would take years to actually appreciate the full country fully as well.
I'm in St. John's, Newfoundland for day one of our 150-day road trip across Canada. This is Canada's most eastern city and one of the oldest in North America, and as you can see behind me, this is one of the things that makes St. John's not only so famous but so beautiful. The multicolored townhouses that were built hundreds of years ago.
That's already, you see that personality with those colourful houses, and that's something I'm interested because it said it's the most eastern city in Canada. How does things like architecture, culture, how does it differ being so easterly compared to the very west of Canada like British Columbia? Do you see differences in things like the architecture, in the way of life?
It's happening! This is day one of Canada's Road to 150, and we're here at Cape Spear, the most easterly point of Canada.
This is where Canada begins, and it's also the eastern gateway to the Canada Park System, which includes over 209 national parks and national historic sites. from from here on out, we're heading west.
Again, last week I looked at Nova Scotia, and I know that that's a very easterly province as well. Tell me if there's any differences and similarities between Newfoundland and Nova Scotia as well. Icebergs.
So we just went on a great trip on O'Brien's boat tours out to the Witness Bay Ecological Reserve. Took you up to the islands at the reserve to see the puffins and the icebergs today. Generally this is a place where a lot of nature comes together, kind of like the northern Galapagos.
So we're here on the Atlantic Ocean and we're here to see icebergs and my favorite birds, the puffins. Being here is like totally different from other places in Canada. St. John's is actually known as the foggiest, cloudiest and windiest city of all Canada.
St. John's.
I mean, I get that that's on the Atlantic, and obviously being from Scotland, we're the other side of the Atlantic, and that weather system is definitely very reminiscent of the weather we have in Scotland. Foggy, grey, rainy. I feel that there, man. I know what that feels like. But to see the puffins, my son absolutely is fascinated with puffins as well. We have a book about puffins, which is quite interesting as well. He would absolutely love to see them. But to see icebergs and puffins, this is already so different from when I looked at British Columbia, where it was more on that those like national parks and things like that. But this being right at the coast and seeing that is something I've not seen so far from Canada, but I know Canada has so much of this as well in abundance.
St. John's traffic, this is Cabot de Sparrow. We are inside 2 miles, ETA Fort Amherst, approximately 15 minutes over.
I love
We're gonna
those
get
colourful
screeched in tnight, which is what? What is a screech-in?
So a screech-in is how you become an honorary Newfie. So basically you have to kiss a cod and drink a shot of screech. I've heard the one we're doing is a big ceremony, so I don't know what's in store.
Oh God. Yes, this is a real Newfoundland cut. Yes. Excellent. And we can't have a drink without having a toast. So please, everybody.
Screech. Looks strong.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Newfoundland.
Yeah, that's something that we've not looked too much at. Is that we've looked at obviously the landscapes and the nature of these different provinces so far, the different things to do, but I'm also interested in the traditions of the different provinces as well. To see something like this from Newfoundland, that you see kissing that fish and drinking that shot. Tell me if you've ever taken part in that sort of ceremony, if you've ever did that thing, that tradition. Tell me what other traditions there is in Newfoundland or any other provinces as well. Again, something that's very unique to Newfoundland. It's quite interesting to learn about.
We live in a society that thrives on diversity, and we have a superb quality of life. You can't get that anywhere else in the world.
I mean, that's also what it's all about, is, and this is what I'm finding interesting about learning about these different provinces, because there's different differences with regards to things like this. I mean, he's talking about St. John's there, and is there more of a sense of community within certain provinces over others? I can imagine somewhere like Newfoundland where there's probably less population than some of the other provinces, where it might feel like a tighter knit community and stuff like that. This one is, you can, and it's also a different lifestyle as well. Maybe in like places like this, it might be a more laid back or relaxed lifestyle, as opposed to maybe some of the other more populated provinces.
People here are so nice and so kind. I think that makes us unique.
St. John's is the oldest city in North America, and it's really apparent as you're walking around the streets visiting all the historical buildings and old houses. One of my favorite parts about St. John's is the colorful row houses that dot the city. It's actually one of the things that makes St. John's so iconic and Newfoundland so unique.
And yeah, you just said there, the oldest city in North America. That in itself is quite something really, and to see. I mean, of course, I love those colourful buildings because they're again very unique and different. But seeing those buildings with the brickwork and knowing how much history is in a place like that, and to see them actually conserve those buildings and keep this style and things like, I feel like that's a really good thing. Like again, I live in Asia, and a lot of the cities here are very fast growing, and they're always demolishing buildings and building new modern buildings, and it's very quick, but they don't really hold on to their history and the heart of them that much. I love to see that that's kind of been held on to in Newfoundland, or in this city.
Newfoundland is an amazing province. It's the perfect place for an adventure. There's so many things to do here, so much nature, a lot of wildlife, but most of all, the people are just so friendly and welcoming. Gros Morne is a great place to get back into nature. I felt so calm and relaxed there with all the fresh air and the wildlife and the wind going through the trees. And every now and then I'd look at the ocean and it looked like it blended right into the sky. One of the things I noticed about Gros Morne is you need a lot of time to drive around the park because everywhere you look is just an incredible, beautiful postcard image. Gros Morne National Park is filled with such incredible landscapes. You'll have landlocked fjords, coastline, tons of forests, lots of wildlife, and the famous tablelands, which are home to the only place in North America where you can walk on the Earth's mantle.
Whoa, man, this is like again taking my breath away. And again, I really am seeing like differences in the geography and landscape of these different provinces, man. They're so unique. That fjord, these sort of like hills again, man, like these are quite reminiscent to what I see in Scotland as well. Things like this, but you know what it is, like I've said before there as well that I live in Kuala Lumpur, and for like my whole life I've lived in cities. I lived in Shanghai before, I lived in Bangkok. So I'm used to living in these very like fast-paced cities, very populated cities. When I see places like this and I just see the openness and the sky, and I can almost breathe that fresh air here. I'm really living vicariously through these videos. But for Canadians to have this on the doorstep, as I always say, I feel so jealous. I feel like you guys are so lucky, man. And I just love it.
The thing about why I love this place, when I come out here in the mornings and I look at this, I see mantle rock. When I look over here, I see beach that are millions and millions and millions of years old. And I realize in the scope of things how miniature we really are when you come and stand out here.
Great point. That is a great point.
There's a lot of wildlife here. We had a chance to see a lot of moose, bald eagles, whales, and even caribou. For me, Newfoundland is so unique and different from the rest of Canada. Like with its colorful houses and the people were amazing, and it was what made this trip so amazing.
So a lot of people there are mentioning the people, like that's a real focus of this video so far is the people of Newfoundland, and I can really feel that. Even just these people talking, they seem like such humble, nice people. Tell me if you feel that, if you're from outside Newfoundland and Canada, do people from this province have that reputation? Have you met people from there? What are they like? And if you're from Newfoundland, is that something you pride yourself on? And it's a great thing. I'm from Scotland, and we kind of pride ourselves on being friendly and nice people generally. So I feel like that's a similarity we have with people of Newfoundland. But to see all those animals, the nature, it's not just the landscapes, you have all these different interesting animals. It's so cool, really got everything there.
We headed to Twillingate, Newfoundland, where it was so incredibly windy, but we couldn't miss it because it's the iceberg capital of the world. Unfortunately, when we were there, the harbor was filled with pack ice, so the big boats weren't able to get out. But luckily, a local fisherman brought us out on his little boat, and we were able to stand on a mini iceberg in the North Atlantic. What an incredible moment that we'll never forget.
An amazing experience. That's a once in a lifetime.
Trinity used to be the most important and largest city in all of Newfoundland. Now it's a small town filled with
Just look at that. That looks like another world. That looks like something else. Look at these beautiful little quaint houses just on this rugged landscape with all these icebergs surrounding it and these sort of hills in the background. imagine just living somewhere like this. Again, it's completely away from my current life. Just walking out your door here and being so close to all of this.
To be the most important and largest city in all of Newfoundland. Now it's a small town filled with tons of historical buildings that you can go in and learn about how they used to live back in the day.
Cool. That's what I'm talking about, preserving that history. Fantastic. Oh wow.
I love Newfoundland. I just love the people, and I think that it's so different and unique from the rest of Canada because of its beautiful houses, like their music, and even their food.
Newfoundland is special for so many reasons. Normally I would say it's all the landscapes and the parks and the wildlife. It's really a place that if you want to get into nature, this is the province to be in. But after being here for these 2 weeks, I can say that the people are really what makes it special.
I mean, that's what it is. Like, we talk about Canada in general having very nice, polite people. I've seen that on a lot of videos. But when you live in a place like that, it just seems such a wonderful place. They talked about the quality of life. That's something they're very proud of. That would just make people happy. That's what a lot of cities in the world, they don't really focus on keeping their people, like keeping the place very that livable way, holding on to the history, having these natural sites, and it just makes people happy, and that in turn makes people nice. Like if everybody just had that similar mentality, it would just be, we live in a wonderful world, man.
Even though we experienced so many things during our 12 days in Newfoundland, it just wasn't enough time to see it all. And I just can't wait to come back and explore further.
Tell me more about the food.
Thank you
They
so much
mentioned
for
the food
watching.
there as well.
To learn more about what makes Canada special, visit mustdocanada.com.
Watching these videos about the provinces, like, I mean, they just make me so happy in general, but they also, as I said on the other videos, it makes me just want to go into like Skyscanner and book a flight to Canada right now, man. But again, they're doing this road to 150 days, and I can imagine that's not even enough time to actually just like appreciate every part of Canada. Like it take like almost 4 times that. It take like 2 years of traveling non-stop just to really ingrain yourself in these cities and provinces and just really appreciate everything about them. But this is allowing me to like really explore these places without actually having the ability to be there, and for that I'm just really appreciative of these video makers, content creators who are making things like this and allow me to see like wonderful places like Newfoundland that I really knew little about, but now I'm starting to learn about it and learn about the country, the place itself, as well as the people, which is great. Tell me again, if you're from Newfoundland, does this represent your province? What other things are amazing to do there? Tell me in the comments. But yeah, Newfoundland looks amazing. Thanks.